Welcome to Sam Show, where the goal of this show is to educate and provide value where we can. My name is Sam Imbogo, and with me is Junior Gikungu. This guy is a strong believer of God. He believes that God gets repelled to people who don't think for themselves. So he's going to tell us the reasons why. And I'm going to ask him some skeptical questions that most Christian people normally have. Why do you think that God gets repelled to people who don't think for themselves?
I think so because he's a person of accurate thought, or a being of accurate thought.
Mm-hmm.
He always says, there's verses that even talk about spitting people out of the mouth if they are lukewarm. There are very many verses that talk about it's worse to be a fence sitter than to be on the wrong side.
Yeah.
So I believe he's repelled by people that don't think for themselves. Because if you don't think for yourself, then everything you do is not yours, which means it's very easy for you to be manipulated
by anyone.
Yeah. So even if you are told the truth today, someone else tomorrow can come with a more compelling or more attractive lie, and you'll also go there.
And what if you only think of like the ways of God?
Oh yeah, so if you only think the ways of God, that's assuming you're in an environment where all you know is, for example, church and all those things.
Mm-hmm.
Even then, he becomes repelled because you won't be able to grow. And seeing as a relationship with God is a personal relationship.
Mm-hmm.
For you to be able to know someone else, if it's a personal relationship, for me to be able to know you, I have to use my own mind, my own thoughts, to think about what you're telling me. And you have to do the same so that I can know you better.
Yeah.
But if I don't, whatever you tell me goes.
So let me ask you the skeptical questions guys normally ask. If God is good, why is there suffering?
If God is good, why is there? The reason I think there's suffering, or why God, you can say, allows suffering, is because I think in life there has to be a contrast of good and bad for you to be able to know, or to appreciate, not to know. For you to be able to appreciate good, there has to be bad. Mm-hmm. For you to win, there has to be the chance for you to lose. Otherwise, you won't call it winning.
Yeah.
Or you won't get the satisfaction, you won't get the growth.
Yeah.
So that's one. Secondly, I think it's because we have been given free will. We're the only creatures that are able to think for yourself. And you can catch yourself doing something wrong. It's like you can judge yourself. Or you can look in the past and go, I didn't do that right, or I did this right, or I did this wrong. So for you to be able to have free will, there has to also be the chance for you to use it negatively. And that's the bad things that we see. So of course there are some bad things that happen because of human causes, not natural causes. There are the bad things that are natural causes, and for that I think they are allowed because there has to be a contrast. So that you can know so that you can appreciate what is good. You can have a better understanding and grow. But there are some that are the responsibility of human beings.
Yeah.
When people use their own free will to do something wrong. So the reason God allows that is because he has given you free will for you to be able to decide.
Yeah.
And that's actually true love. True love is when you allow somebody to decide for themselves. Whether to come to you, or to ignore you, or to listen to you. That's what free will is.
If the church is the truth, why are there so many hypocrites and fakes in the church?
That's a loaded one. You also have to say what you mean by the church being the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Because there is nowhere that it's written that the church is the truth. What's written is the only person who has ever claimed to be the truth
Jesus.
Is Jesus.
He said, I'm the truth.
He said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. So you have to look into that. It's not to say that you need to believe it immediately. But you have to look into someone that says things like that, because they're either very sick in the head or very twisted. They should be in Madhare, or they're actually speaking. They're saying stuff that you should listen to. So when churches have hypocrites, it's the same way every industry or everything has hypocrites, the twisting of the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Everywhere you go, you'll always find people who are twisting the truth to be able to get, I don't know, maybe they want to get money, others want to get the popularity.
So you don't believe that the church is the truth?
No, I don't believe the church is the truth. believe Jesus is the truth.
But the church is not the truth.
The church is not the
But
truth.
is the church is where the truth is found.
See, now you have to go and look. You have to go and find for yourself. I wouldn't advocate you into thinking. Because you see, when you think like that, it becomes easy for somebody that wants to manipulate people in the church. When you think church is the truth, it becomes very easy for you can be manipulated easily. Because again, you see, you have given up your power to think for yourself, and you said the church is the truth.
Yeah.
You've not thought for yourself to actually find out. Okay, are these guys within the line, within the teaching of Jesus? Are they following? Because you know it's very easy to know hypocrites.
Very.
And everybody knows that that's a hypocrite, and they're not representing what Christ taught or the way Christ lived.
You as a Christian, how do you believe in the whole Christianity thingy, and you cannot prove it?
That's a
Or can you prove it?
no, you can't prove it. First, I'd like to bring the attention to faith, because that's what you're asking, basically, faith. Faith is not just something that exists in religion like people think. People think that people of science don't have faith because they deal with facts, and Christians have, or religious people have faith because they are thinking about things they can't prove and seeing things they can't believe. But on the contrary, faith is something that you must live with every day. For example, before we sat on these seats, we didn't know 100% that they're going to hold our weight. We had to have some degree of faith. But that faith is backed up by evidence that you have sat on these seats before and you've never fallen on them. So you sit, but you've had some funny situations where you've sat on a chair and you fall. So faith is not, it's not something that comes from speculation
Yeah.
like people think. Faith comes from, you have to have some certain evidence that points towards something. And then the part where you can't prove is where you place faith because of the evidence. What I don't advocate is the people, for example, who believe but they don't know the evidence.
Yeah.
I don't, like, you have not gone into the evidence.
Like the
And
Bible.
that's how I was.
The
before.
Bible, you mean?
Many things. There's the Bible. There's you thinking for yourself, you thinking about your experiences, you seeing the things that happen in the world, being very genuine. You remove the emotions from it so that you can be able to see the evidence.
So you've talked about the way you were before. How were you before?
Before, I was like anyone else who has grown up in a Christian family. You're born into the family, that's the only thing you've been exposed to. So that's what you go into. I mean, almost every Kenyan kind of knows that you get born into a Christian family, you start becoming a Christian.
Yeah.
Get born into a Muslim family, you become
A Muslim?
a Muslim. So I was like that until I went to the US, where for the first time that belief was challenged by people who are very smart. Let me just say, people who are very smart. They know how to ask questions. And it's not that they were trying to trick me or anything. It's just they were asking me questions that I had never asked myself
Before?
yeah, and also that you're kind of not,
Familiar?
yeah, and you're not kind of allowed to ask the pastor. I mean, you're allowed, but it's not a common thing that
yeah.
you go and ask the pastor. Because when you start asking questions like that, people assume like you're backsliding.
You're backsliding,
Like,
yeah.
huyu anapotea, this one's
Wana-
about to be caught by the devil or something.
Very true.
So when I went to Vegas, that's what happened. Everything was challenged. And because I didn't have a firm belief, I'd not come to the belief that there is a God through my own thinking. Everything I based on was things I was given by my parents. That's why I say you need to be very careful, and you need to always come to decisions after thinking for yourself. Because if you don't think for yourself, anybody else can come and swap. So the ideas I had of Christianity were given to me from my parents, from the pastors, from friends. So they were not my own.
Could you tell us like one question the guys in US asked you? A tricky one that weathered you.
For example, the inconsistencies of the Bible.